Welcome back. As we promised, we are going to shed more light on the important visit by the Jordanian King Abdullah II, which took place yesterday, as he was received by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, whether in Cairo International Airport or in Al Ittihadiyya Presidential Palace, where an official reception, of course, was made for his royalty, and the national anthems of both Egypt and Jordan were played. Both leaders also reviewed the Guards of Honor and discussed a number of issues of mutual concern. To shed more light on the visit, we are very much delighted to have with us via phone Dr. Hassan Wageeh, our political analyst. A very good morning to you, Dr. Wageeh.
Good morning to you.
Sir, of course, you are our political analyst, and also you are a professor of international relations. And when it comes to relations with brotherly nations like Jordan, they are deeply rooted relations, they are historic relations. So the visit of yesterday came in light of the continuous and mutual consultations between Egypt and its Arab allies. How do you see, sir, the importance of the visit and its timing regarding the challenges that are facing the whole world and particularly the Arab nation?
Yes, first we must say and confirm that the close relationship between His Royal Highness King Abdullah and His Excellency the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi witnessed a great and close cooperation between the two leaders, and you can imagine that there are 40 visits that took place between the two leaders since 2014. So I think the close relationship is very clear. King Abdullah was here also in the climate conference.
COP27.
Yeah. And the two leaders are discussing this close relationship and in what way they could act as one when it comes to the international crisis, when it comes to the cooperation between the tripartite cooperation between Egypt, Jordan, and Iraq, and also the pressing international crisis that impact all the people in the area is of a prime importance in their agenda.
Amen to that. I was asking, sir, about the timing, as the summit of yesterday came just 3 days after our top diplomat, Sameh Shukri, who is currently in a visit to Rome, to the Italian capital, to participate in the Rome-Mediterranean dialogues. He also had on the sidelines of this gathering a meeting with his Jordanian counterpart, Ayman Safadi. So there are mutual consultations and meetings on whether the ministerial levels or the presidential or the leaders limit. How do you see this, sir, as implementing on the ground all the joint visions, all the agreed upon deals or memoranda of understanding in all domains? How do you see this, sir?
Yes, I think that Egypt, in its capacity as a continuous leader for climate, for the COP that took place in Sharm el-Sheikh, shed good light on this. And I think that it's very important that to see the king before he goes to Italy and before he goes to Algeria. Is coming to Egypt to discuss issues and to enhance and enhance the cooperation on the entire Arab area, because the crisis requires us to stand as one and got into a deeper cooperation between Jordan, Egypt, and the entire Arab countries.
This is exactly what I wanted to shed more light on, sir. As the presidential spokesperson, Ambassador Bassam Radi, said, the summit talks between the two Arab leaders tackle the current crises that are witnessed by some Arab countries and the importance of joint Arab action to face them at a time that we are all the time focusing on maintaining the sovereignty and unity of these Arab countries. This is a message to the international community, I think, if you agree with me on that.
Yes, of course I do agree with you. And let me add to it that when it comes to the issue of sovereignty and solving the problem I think it is very high on the agenda, is the Palestinian problem. And in what way Egypt and Jordan is keen and is trying to activate the peace process and to stand next to the Palestinian people and not to leave them alone, given the imperatives of the international crisis too. We would not forget this important cause. And I think Egypt and Jordan cooperation is extremely important in reactivating the peace process on the basis of international laws, because we don't want to see any other explosion in the area when it comes to this. And
Sir,
because
I was
Palestinian rights
quoting,
that should be maintained.
if you permit me, sir, to interrupt here. I'm sorry, of course, for the interruption, but I was quoting the presidential spokesperson saying so. I should seize the opportunity, and since you are here with us via phone calls, you are a professor of linguistics, to have all these words in one sentence. Joint Arab action, unity and sovereignty, in the same time facing the challenges. I mean, to face the challenges, this does not mean that we are interfering into the internal affairs of other Arab countries. On the contrary, we are working together for maintaining their sovereignty and unity. I think the words even of the statement were carefully chosen.
Of course, this is very clear, as you said, and of course, this is linguistic intensification and the communicative message to get it across for several parties, by the way, around us. And the latest thing is that what is Iran is trying to do with Iraq, and they're trying to get a portion for to intervene in the and penetrate the Iraqi territory. So I think the communique is posed and is written in a very careful language that would address all these dangerous situations that the whole area is exposed to.
Sir, also you mentioned a very important aspect, which is the trilateral coordination or cooperation mechanism among Egypt, Iraq and Jordan, and this was also discussed yesterday between President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi and Jordanian King Abdullah II, particularly in the field of trade and investment. How do you see, sir, the global economic crisis and the importance of joint Arab action to face this economic crisis, which unfortunately is taking place, whether due to the impacts of COVID-19 or the Russian-Ukrainian conflict, which really had its very, very negative impact on the supply chains, food security, energy security, and so on?
Yes, this is a very important point you are raising, and I think that we have to put these two words in our political blackboard, which is globalism and regionalism. The impact of the Ukrainian-Russian crisis has deeply impacted the concept of globalism and supply chains and all of that, all that jazz. So all the countries around the world are keen to enhance regionalism instead of globalism, at least in this particular era. And I think when it comes to enhancing regionalism, Arab unity is needed, Arab cooperation is needed, the Arab system should be there, so as with cooperation also with the regional powers. I think this is the elements of regionalism that the two leaders are enhancing to face this crisis, international crisis, I mean.
Yeah, and also, as you've kindly mentioned, it was a tour by the Jordanian monarch, started yesterday with Egypt, then he moved to Algeria, and after that he's going to go to Italy. And Algeria hosted just recently, just a few weeks ago, an important Arab summit. And it was really clear that in any Arab summit, the Palestinian cause is going to remain on top of the agenda and discussing ways to revive the stalled Middle East peace process. This is also another message to the international community that the Palestinian cause is going to remain our top priority. How do you see this, sir?
Yes, of course, we have witnessed the events lately in the occupied territories, and there are sad events. And I think that the two leaders are very keen to stand by the Palestinian people and to get them the right they deserve. And I think that reactivating the peace process on the basis of the international laws and resolutions that really took place is a must. We need to work on this closely because we don't want to see other sorrowful explosions in the area. And we would like very much to get the Palestinians back their rights. So I think this was the Arab Summit in Algeria. This is where on the top agenda of Egypt and Jordan for decades now, and they are working on, the two leaders are working on it.
Sir, how do you see the Egyptian keenness in general to boost ties with our Arab allies? I mean, just a few weeks ago, we celebrated 50 years of relations with the United Arab Emirates, and of course we congratulated the United Arab Emirates with the Independence Day just 2 days ago. We had this important summit talks between the president and the Jordanian king. The joint Arab action, the all efforts exerted to boost the Egyptian-Arab ties. How do you see this, sir, and its importance amid all these crises which are facing the whole world right now?
Yeah, I think Egypt is a role country, and it's a requirement for the Egyptian leadership for a long time to enhance all Arab relationships. So I think when it comes to Arab Emirates, yes, we have close relationship with Arab Emirates, and we are supposed to enhance this close relationship with Arab Emirates and with other Gulf countries and all the Arab area countries, because this is one of the most important objectives of the Egyptian politics in general, is to reactivate the Arab system in its entirety. And we have seen also, you remember in Alamein in August, the four leaders, His Royal Highness Zayed and His Royal Highness of Bahrain, and also King Abdullah, and also the Prime Minister of Iraq. They gathered in Al Alamein also to activate the Arab system and try to see how cooperation could go into deeper steps.
Sir, amen to all what you have said, and those meetings are very important, but more important even is to implement on the ground all of the accords or deals or agreements which were signed or agreed upon during these meetings. For example, yesterday there were talks regarding investment, trade, and also our top diplomat spoke in Rome about the potentials of Egypt as an energy hub. Among the projects implemented on the ground is the electricity connection between Egypt, Jordan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the northern side of the Mediterranean. But of course, far from Europe, our Arab allies are our first priority. How do you see, sir, implementing on the ground what was agreed upon? It's no more ink on paper. It's a process going on.
Yes, as you mentioned, eloquently mentioned, not to have all these memo of understanding and agreements as an ink on paper. We have to implement, and I think that Egypt is very keen to have this implementation for enhancing the economic side, especially when it comes to the two important elements of energy and economy at large. And I think Egypt is giving a priority to regionalism, as I said, to cooperation between Arab countries in particular. And I think this is a good enhancement for both the economy and the political agenda for enhancing and reactivating the Arab system as it should be.
I ask this question, sir, because among the points which were released in the statement, the presidential statement regarding the summit, that Jordanian King Abdullah II expressed keenness to benefit from the developmental efforts exerted by Egypt recently in all domains via exchanging expertise in all fields. This is very important among us as Arab allies. True?
Oh, yes, very, very important. And by the way, King Abdullah in several international interviews has already mentioned something very positive about Egyptian developmental efforts and the need for the two countries to get together and to learn from each other. I think this is extremely important statement made by His Royal Highness. And actually, I'd like to add something very important, which is it's not only the economics and the politics, but also the Jordanian side is very keen to enhance the interfaith and intercultural dialogue, and really they addressed Al-Azhar, and we had good cooperation between Jordan and Egypt through Al-Azhar also.
Yeah. Regarding Iraq, because Iraq, when it comes to a big country like Iraq, with all its resources, with the oil, with the manpower, it's really, I'm not going to say sad, but to know that Iraq is suffering, to know that Iraq is still suffering from the negative impacts of the U.S. occupation and all the negative repercussions surrounding that. How do you see the Egyptian Jordanian support to Iraq to pass over all the political deadlock, all the obstacles on the way to achieve development and to regain its position in the Arab nation?
Yes, I think the two countries are very keen to have two things in mind. Number one, to help Iraq restore its sovereignty, its intactness, to get back as it was. Iraq is supposed to be an Arab power, but when we witnessed this, what was called what I call, not what I call, the chaos, the chaos that really spread, and the fourth and fifth wars that really took place on the ground to destabilize countries. Iraq was destabilized by the American invasion, and it is still now suffering from that impact. And I think that we have to help this one thing, to help Iraq restore its control in its own land, its sovereignty, and its real power as it was. But also the two leaders are very keen also to keep their countries intact, away from chaos theories and from all what could be planned for destabilizing our countries and our areas, because we had enough and we have to be very keen and vigilant when it comes to that.
Dr. Hassan Wageeh, our political analyst and professor of international relations and linguistics, thank you very much for your input, sir, and have a very good day. Well, the United Nations Cultural Agency, UNESCO, said that the glaciers in one-third of the world sites will disappear due to climate change, and this is going to take place by the year 2050. How to prevent that from happening, how to preserve our planet Earth, how to live such a happy life, and to guarantee that the coming generations are going also to lead a happy life far from all these dangers. This is something which we are going to discover and in detail in the coming report, so stay tuned.
Some of the world's most famous glaciers, including the Dolomites in Italy, the Yosemite and Yellowstone Park in the United States, and Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania, are set to disappear by 2050 due to global warming. The United